This is Power Athlete Radio. With your hosts, Denny K, Professor Booty, and the Luke Summers. And now, toes forward, hips locked, shoulders set, and retract those scapulars. It's time for some knowledge bombs.
Power Athlete Nation, what's up? It's that time. Power Athlete Radio, in effect, episode 20. I'm here with Luke Summers, the man who gives new meaning to the term gold member.
What's up?
The man who orders quad burgers and asks for 3 additional meat patties.
This is truth.
This is true, right? We also have Cali. I'm buff. I'm beautiful. I just changed my Facebook profile and I'm wearing a jean skirt and rocking a lightsaber Hinsman.
Jean skirt?
Oh my God.
and Denny K, the stalker.
Yeah, the professor himself.
That's
Superman.
fucking subtle.
My 2-year-olds pushing prowlers in front of national level weightlifters. Steve Playtech. What's going on, guys?
What's up, guys?
What is up?
Hello.
All right, so right off the bat, I guess the latest news coming out of PAHQ is the Beginner's Guide to CrossFit Football. Very awesome.
Yeah, dude, it was that was
Luke, talk about that a little bit.
I've been working on that thing with John and a couple other folks for like 6 months. You'd be surprised how long it takes to just get something like that organized. But really what stirred it up is I was going through the FAQ on CrossFit Football one day and realized it answers every question, but that's also the problem as well. It's like answers every question. So just like we try to phase in the strength template, why not try to phase in and do a new CrossFit Football follower? Give them just the bare minimum out of the gate, something real easy to digest. Try to reduce the dreaded dick punches on the comments, and really just shut Dude Bro up for a little bit, you know? So
Is that even possible?
No, he'll find new material.
Yeah.
I have to say, it was super fun to read, humorous, and informative. I'm glad that you guys did it.
Yeah, well, hopefully it works, you know. And the objective is just get more reach, get more followers. You know, the more people we can get following the program, the better we can adapt it and help it evolve and see what works, what doesn't work, and collect some data. You know, some world domination, critical mass.
Get a few followers, world domination. It's like step 1 and step 2, right?
Exactly.
All right. Callie.
What?
Power Athlete Team Series.
Yeah.
4 competitions done, in the books. The data's collected. Are you starting to see any kind of trend, or, you know, is something really starting to stand out in your mind that you're just chomping at the bit for next year?
Yeah, dude. I think there definitely are some trends with the teams that are winning and the teams that are placing really high. You know, it's not any surprise that the teams that are the strongest, or maybe fall in, say, the top 5 strongest spots, are performing pretty well in the Metcons as well, which is nice to see. So the people that are winning and then placing in the top 3 that put them in a position to do the Prowler shuttle at the end, they're legitimately there for a reason. And that's, you know, it's very validating to see that it kind of works out that way. So I think that as we refine the Metcons and create balance in the competition, that again, the teams that are winning and the teams that are doing well really should be there. Now, they may not be the number 1 strongest team, but they're definitely in the top 5, and their ability to be both strong and then kind of apply that strength to the Metcon and to muscle endurance just goes to kind of prove our point that life and shit and Metcons is just easier if you're stronger. So that's, again, kind of a nice thing to see.
I remember when we talked about the the team series earlier, one of the questions that we talked about on this show was, would people kind of hold back on the strength portion to kind of save, their energy for the Metcon? And you didn't feel that would happen, right? Because of the Wilks coefficient, that it would actually kind of, entice people to just go balls out. And it sounds like that's happening. I mean, those numbers I seen on the Katy competition were just freaking huge.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think that we're talking about 3 lifts here. I mean, 3 attempts. And also, nobody wants to go to a competition and not PR. If you do want to go and do sort of like a powerlifting style competition and not PR, I mean, I'm not sure what your motivation is. I don't understand that person. So when the spotlight's on you and you have 3 attempts to do something awesome, I think most people would choose to be awesome. I would hope, You got
to. That's interesting. Steve, when, did you kind of strategize as far as openers? Or did you just kind of go out there and just have no plan, just I want to crush all 3 attempts?
More towards the latter. I knew I could hit. I think I opened at like 550 or something. Whatever the guy I was lifting with, I forget his name now. He does the Nomad training. I think we opened at like 550 or something. Or I knew I could hit 585. And then after that, I just let Caleb load the bar, and he loaded 605, and I missed it. So that would have been a PR. But I'm with you, Cali. If you go to one of these competitions and you're trying to game it or something, that's straight up retarded. I mean, you have to go for a PR. And I mean, the event is so spaced out in terms of time that, if you decide to game it, I mean, you have so much rest time to recover, unless your recovery is just completely horrible. And the Metcons are like 12 minutes at most. So.
Right. And I would say that you would be more prone to see that if you were doing like occupied strength. If anyone remembers occupied strength and you actually had to do the entire CrossFit football total, maybe you would have seen somebody, I don't know. I don't even know why they would, but go kind of sandbag a little bit for a Metcon. But I mean, just because you're looking at, a lot more lifting and at the front end. But yeah, I didn't really see that. But I mean, I will say one thing in Katy, Texas, I found it interesting that I saw more missed reps, more missed openers, and more just kind of failed attempts in the strength portion than I had it at the other events. And I just, I just didn't understand who was kind of directing these athletes in terms of their openers, because I've always looked at that initial lift as being like a confidence builder. I mean, that initial lift is so much more like a psychological thing than anything. The bar needs to, you need to feel confident after you pull the bar off the ground. And, a lot of these people, I think, were shooting for PRs on the first one, which is not my advice. Like, I wouldn't advise someone to go initially. I think maybe shoot for your current PR, but my thought has always been you want to kind of get the bar to move, and then the second lift, maybe shoot for a conservative new PR, and then that third lift is really based on that second lift. And I think since we don't have to, for the team series, you don't have to, I guess, announce your lifts beforehand. You can really make a decision on that third lift, like based on bar speed from your second lift. And that's kind of always how I gauged it. And I thought, people should be approaching the lifts, if that makes sense.
It does. I think conventional thinking on opening lifts is like pull your double or something like that. I don't know if that's too conservative. I've only been to participated in a few competitions in my life, and I always opened just shy of maybe a current PR, and then really went for that PR in the second one. And if that went well, then the third one was like, let's go for it, Yeah. It really depends on, like you were saying, bar speed on the second one and how you felt. But I mean, in the spirit of competition, you got the crowd there. You know, the CrossFit Football Nation, I mean, those people don't just, you know, it's not like we were talking the last episode, like a USAW event where it's just nice and quiet and they're just watching you. I mean, you're talking, people are cheering you on. You got teammates there, you know, which is a huge part of it. You got your friends and family there. I mean, everybody wants to see you complete that lift. Even, you know, it's not like nobody doesn't want to see you just because they're competing against you, you know. I think it fires everybody up against the adrenaline pumping. And how is that not presenting an environment to really just crush PRs?
Yeah, definitely. And I think, you know, for a lot of people, this is their first competition and they don't know, they're not exactly sure how to go about it. But like you said, there's a lot of people watching, and it's not necessarily like the pressure of some other lifts or some other competitions where really like the focus is on one or two platforms at a time. And there's a spotlight, and it's, you know, can be a little bit intimidating, but here we're talking about multiple athletes on multiple platforms and a lot of energy going. And so all I want to see people do is just kind of get some confidence, particularly on that first lift, and then they can kind of get after it. But yeah, I mean, if, you know, kind of go down that road a little bit, if this is your first competition, I mean, this is going to be the competition to kind of, I guess, break you in, because if you're interested in doing any other type of powerlifting or Olympic lifting meets, this is going to be like your JV version of that, you know. It's a very much more comfortable kind of environment, I would think.
Yeah, I've done the weightlifting and the powerlifting, and I agree with you that, you know, that first lift, I feel like the first lift of the meet makes or breaks your competition performance. I mean, if you walk out and you miss your first snatch, it's just straight demoralizing, right? And, you know, fine if you make your second snatch and all that stuff, but that first one I feel like sets the stage. It gets your positions right. You know, Caleb is my coach, and so he's always, you know, you hit that first snatch, you be able, anything you hit in the gym any day, walk in, boom, hit it. Then we can go from there. You always have time in the warm-up area to kind of, you know, sort out some extra weights, but that first lift, you can't miss your opener. I mean, you shouldn't unless everything goes to shit.
Right. Well said.
All right, so the next team series is in Lynnwood.
You got it, Lynnwood, Washington.
Is that are you kind of like returning home? Is that?
No.
That's East. You're on.
I'm in DC.
Yeah, my bad.
Bro. Yeah, I'm an East Coaster. No, yeah. So we're outside of Seattle on the 24th of August, and we still have spots available for that. So we've got a few spots for teams still. Super excited because we have a pretty good following out towards Seattle. Whenever we have certs out there, we have a really good showing and some pretty strong people. And, you know, Kelsey up there, Jesse Ward, who runs CrossFit Lynnwood, they're all kind of helping me tag team this event and host it. And they've actually recruited two super strong dudes to do almost like a demo for us. They're not going to be competing on teams, but they're going to compete and to show a little bit of their ability. We've got a guy named Justin Randall, who typically squats like in the 700s. So he's got like a max squat of 733 pounds, and he's going to do 500 for reps, just to put on a little show, I think. And his buddy, Jeff Seith, he's going to do deadlifts, probably about the same weight for reps as well. And his deadlift is about 800 pounds currently. So it's pretty ridiculous.
Wow.
And let's be honest, Cali. The real reason we're going to Seattle is Cali's looking for some hunk with a big beard and sleeveless flannel.
Oh, yeah.
Welcome to the 90s.
Nice.
Let me bust out my Pearl Jam Soundgarden and Al.
No, she's looking more for the lumberjack.
No, yeah. I don't need that. Yeah, exactly. I want somebody who works in like a cabin, who hasn't seen a woman for 10 years.
Cali, come on.
Nice. Cali spoken class today.
We have just reached some kind of new low right there.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I try not to bust out the singing voice too much, but
Yeah. So Seattle. I mean, I am going there too. Yeah, there are definitely perks to going to Seattle. There's a lot of good scenery, I would say. But yeah, so that'll be the 24th of August. So if people are still interested, sign up, register your team, get it together, and I'll see you on the 24th.
And practice pushing the prowler.
Practice pushing the prowler, exactly.
Callie, I think what a lot of people don't realize too is because we don't really publish it, so I guess this is your secret coupon, but any competitors for the team series get discounts on certs. So we give $100 off if you compete in a team series.
Yeah, you've got to sign up for it.
That's huge.
At the event, you got to sign up for it at the event.
So if that's inspiration enough, dude, you can go there. You can win $2,000, get $100 off a cert, get a set of custom Power Athlete bumper plates. I can't think of a better way to spend a weekend or a weekend day.
A weekend. All right, so record-breaking signups for NorCal.
Yeah, we're gonna blow the record up. So we've got over 25 teams, and that's gonna be up at CrossFit One World with Freddie. We have Ingo B, who, if you know him from the CrossFit Football blog, he's a regular on there. He's a Northern California volleyball player who I guess moonlights as a DJ. So he's going to show up. He's going to DJ. Pretty excited about that. And we're going to take the van up. If all goes to plan and everybody wakes up on time, we're going to take the van up as a group. And John, Luke, Ben, myself, we're going to go up there and run it. I think Luke, Ben, and John, and maybe a ringer might try to compete as a joke. So we'll see.
Why is that a joke? Because we would win, right? That's what you're talking about?
Yeah. Yep.
You got me doing all these crazy Metcons the past 6 weeks. Ruining my spot.
I know everybody is doing regular CrossFit now, and we're like, this is really hard. I'm sore all the time. CrossFitting is really hard.
But yeah, back to it.
Of the Power Athlete Nation who don't know, Ingo's responsible for our badass intro.
Yeah.
But they may not know how close we're going to go with another intro. One of our favorite ones. Luke, this might sound familiar. But Ingo's definitely was better. I mean, we got love for the NKO TV crew.
Oh my God.
Danny, are you smoking?
I think Ingo did us some justice. So we chose him. Ingo B, you rock.
I don't
comments on that one? Did I catch you guys off
Yes.
There?
Yeah, but I don't remember taking a vote on this, because I clearly would have gone with New Kids on the Block.
How are you gonna diss Ingo like that?
It's Donnie Wahlberg, dude. Donnie Wahlberg. He's related to Marky Mark.
He doesn't have a beard or sleeveless flannel.
He's a Wahlberg. Okay.
Oh, okay. Is that obvious?
All right. Wow.
Danny,
Okay,
are you podcasting from altitude? You're off the charts today, bro.
But let's sign up for these freaking team series. NorCal's you better get on it if it's NorCal, and same thing with Washington. These are right around the corner. And then Cali, SoCal's about half full, a little over half, right? So just a handful of teams left there.
Yeah, that's going to be at an awesome facility, CrossFit Team Academy. And that one's close to home, so I'm super excited about that one. I think you guys are going to be in Germany, right, Luke?
Yeah, we're pumping the event out there as well, so we're going global.
We're going global, and we're going to have a bunch of people and teams from our home gym here at Balboa, so they can kind of see what we do outside of Balboa. Hopefully they'll start respecting my authority a little bit more.
Good luck, Cali.
Yeah, no chance.
Let's talk about your experience at the booth during the games real quick, because in the last show, Luke, we got Luke's side of it. What did you take from just being there at the games, Rich Froning, 3-peat, running people through the dynamic warm-ups? I saw a few pictures on the Facebook page, what are your perspective on all that?
I thought it was a good experience for sure. The games, I had not been to the games as neither a competitor nor a attendee. So it was an interesting experience. I thought that the little workshops that we did were awesome. And, I'll toot our own horn. I thought we did a great job, but also kind of getting to know the other specialty seminars and getting a glimpse into what they do at theirs. Some of them I didn't have a lot of familiarity with, and I thought it was pretty great. And what a great thing to offer for all the people that paid millions and millions of dollars to attend to watch people exercise. But I thought it was awesome. There was certainly good, great, wholesome people watching. There was a lot of abs. There was a lot of oiled up people. There was a lot of shitty people.
Yeah, dude. Yes. People put their bodies on. It was like a walking billboard. They'd have these little tank tops on that showed their gym, and then be like, "Look at what my gym did to me. Yeah. I'm hot and oily."
Yeah.
And they were pretty drunk too. They could have been sweaty.
Oh,
so it was sweat. Okay.
It was awesome. I had lots of drunk people try to test their vertical.
Oh,
I had this one drunk chick try to test her vertical, and literally she didn't even jump an inch off the ground. She fell on her back, and
so she had a negative vertical?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It was like the most heinous thing I've seen in real life or on TV or anywhere. It was terrible.
Cali,
is there video of that?
No.
Cali, were you there when the blooper with Tex, when Tex was testing that one dude's vertical? Do you remember? Were you there for that?
Well, I don't remember.
Okay, so for those we have pictures all over the Facebook, and maybe I don't think we have any video, but I'll figure out a way to put it in the show notes. To test your vertical, you stand under this apparatus that has these plastic fins that all you need to do is kind of tap and they'll displace, because whenever the person who's setting it up sets it up, the fins are perfectly in line. So it's very easy to see which fins you made contact with, right? Not only that, but 30 people are watching and you can see the fins move, right? So we were saying hey, you don't have to slap it. It's not your wife. It's not your girlfriend. It's not your kid. Just give it a little taparoo. And anyway, so Tex gives this guy this and for those of you who know Tex, it's very clear. It's very matter of fact.
It's like your dad. It's like your dad telling you how to vertical jump.
Listen, you're going to jump as high as you can. You have to just touch the fins, don't slap it, and don't forget about landing.
I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
Yeah. So this guy, now granted, I think he was sober, but holy shit, what a blooper. He jumps up. He thinks he's spiking a volleyball, meet the parent style, boom, smacks this thing. The whole thing starts to wobble. He hits it so hard his feet come out from under him. He goes to land on his heels. Everything shoots back. He falls over into, I guess we'll call it the reaching stick that Tex is holding, and Tex is holding it just on the ground, kind of like a putter, I guess. And he falls into it, bends it, catapults it out of Tex's hand, and the end of it nails Tex in the junk so hard. And there's 40 people around and everyone's like, oh. And so Tex just went right down to the ground right there, crawled into our booth and sat on the couch back there. And he's like, I need to tag in.
That is awesome.
So America's Funniest Home Videos?
I don't know if it's AFV worthy, but it was great for us.
Somebody has to have had that on an iPhone or something.
I don't know, dude.
Send it in. If you're listening and you have that on video on your phone, send it in.
Oh, that's a great point. But so sorry to hijack that conversation. Go ahead, Cali. So what else?
Worth it. Totally worth it. Yeah, there were a lot of experiences like that. Yeah, I mean, it was definitely interesting. Like, the whole experience was interesting. I actually was one of the only people from CrossFit football to stay to the very end and watch the final heats of the final event. So that was pretty cool. It was cool, but it was weirdly like anticlimactic. I don't know. It was just like, all right, we're done, you know? I don't know.
What do you say anticlimactic?
Well, first, before we get into that, let me clarify what Cali means. She was one of the only CrossFit football staff who didn't help carry all the gear to the van.
I did too.
Which was, you carried it to your own car, which was like in the VIP spot because you batted your eyelashes at the security guys. And she got front row seats because, again, batted her eyelashes. We were stuck in the parking lot looking on the Jumbotron. We stayed and watched final events.
I don't have to use my eyelashes. I have boobs.
That's true. That's true story.
Anyway, I did help carry gear. That's untrue. But yes, I did get to catch the end of it. It was awesome. I think Luke's just cranky because I think he was probably at some point drinking heavily and was cranky. Yeah, exactly. It was Luke's girlfriend's birthday that weekend. And so I'm sure he didn't do anything crazy the night before, but yeah, I stayed to the end, and it was, man, these guys, I felt super bad for Josh Bridges, because when it got to that deadlift event and the handstand walk, he, that deadlift was just crushing him because of his kind of size. I mean, he was so much smaller than these guys, so he struggled with that, but it was badass.
I like that event a lot.
I thought it was pretty good myself, too. All right.
Go ahead.
What about your new shirt idea?
Oh, I don't know if it's really going to catch on, but the whole point was that Denny's referring to the fact that I wanted to make a CrossFit shirt, since pretty much everything sells at the CrossFit Games, that said I went to the CrossFit Games and all I got was melanoma, because everyone suffered from extreme sun exposure. I was sure I was going to die. I was sunburned somehow on my head as well, which is ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, we sat in the sun, and I felt like I exercised all day just out of virtue of staring into the sun directly.
And standing.
That's awesome.
That should be a WOD. How long can you stand without moving in the sun?
That's probably longer than 12 minutes.
You think so?
I don't know. I'm not certain about that. So you know what Rob Wolf would say? Vitamin D.
Vitamin D. Overdose.
Stop bitching. Vitamin D.
Yeah, you're supposed to get 20 minutes a day.
Whatever.
That's a bit above average.
But I think so. Moving on, I know good kind of segue into the listener submission from Jake.
Yeah, Jake Sansbury. Hope I said that name right. He says, "Hey guys, I'm curious about your thoughts on the zigzag run at the CrossFit Games a few weeks back. I thought it was very cool to see a field athletics-based test get thrown into the mix, and would like to get a glimpse through the PAHQ eyes at an event that is right up your alley. Any chance of a blog post or mention on Power Athlete Radio? Maybe chuck in a breakdown of performance between good, bad, and ugly. What would both the fittest on earth and the average CrossFit football follower look at to improve in that kind of test? Cheers, Jake." So, Luke, let's start with your thoughts on that one.
I loved it, dude. I loved it. Cali can attest. For the past 18 months, I've been trying to get to the point in our competitions where it comes down to a foot race. As in Occupy Australia, we had a tie because it was just it was weight lifted in total reps, and it was a tie in both between these two dudes, and I set up a foot race between them, and there was a diving finish as expected, and it was amazing. Everyone was screaming and shouting, and you get goosebumps. And so I loved it. in terms of breaking it down, unfortunately, we were working the booth, so I didn't get to watch it, and I haven't really got to watch any highlights or summaries. But the biggest thing, obviously, is going to be keeping your feet. Don't fall over. I'd imagine people fell because of bad foot position. Their feet slipped out from them because they didn't lower their center of gravity. They didn't plant with a correct foot position, which would be essentially a perpendicular to inertia, or where you're going to be changing direction. So you could quickly change direction, minimize ground contact time, and get moving the other direction. Cali, did you get to watch any of that or no?
Yeah, I thought at some point you actually pointed to the screen, because I remember you making a point to me about the dive finish because you saw someone dive on the big screen.
Well, that was the Naughty Nancy, because they also had a 50. Remember, they had the 50-meter sprint after you finished your fourth round or whatever, and there was two girls hoofing it out right there, final furlong, and sure enough, diving finish. I loved it. I love it.
I think when you turned to me, you actually had tears in your eyes. You were so happy and taken aback.
Single tear, Cali. Single tear.
Was it made of cobra blood?
I wish it was gold.
Yeah, the sprints at the end of each of the events in the games were pretty awesome, right? So like you finish your work and then, geez, you have to sprint 50 yards. And what's funny is a lot of people finished, within a second of each other. That sprint separated people significantly.
Right.
So I thought it was a real show of athleticism. And that zigzag sprint, it looked like there were people who had never run in their life on that thing. And then there were some other athletes, Dan Bailey in particular. He just smoked that thing. Everyone got better. Like you said, low center of gravity, big plant. He even fell once, just got right up and exploded out. It was pretty amazing to watch.
I was pretty shocked to see them have that. But I thought it was great. Of course, how could you not like to see that? I mean, especially for what we do. I mean, it's such a great display of that athleticism. But I don't remember, how many attempts did they get at that?
It was bracket style. So they had heats, and then the top three from each heat would move on to the next bracket until it came down to, 6 athletes. And the bracket style was actually quite cool because, people falling, but all you have to do is come in third place for that heat. So you could just see the desperation on some of these athletes to cross the line. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's
I'm watching the highlights right now, and I'm seriously getting goosebumps. I'm telling you, diving finishes, Cali, this is great. I'm posting this in the show notes. But I'm looking at some of the running, and you can see, Cali, if you watch arm swing, you can see the people who can separate their shoulders from their hips. You can see people who know how to finish, who know how to start. Like Dan Bailey was in like a legitimate sprinter start.
Yep.
Where other people were
he was a collegiate sprinter.
Exactly. So you look at other people who are in rough starts or starting positions. They're not gonna reach top end as soon, which is important. Like, dude, every second counts.
Yep.
Great documentary, great concept in the games, but every split second counts. You know what I mean? Tenths of a second.
And those were the splits actually for that event. There were people, it was like 11-1, 11-3, 11-3, 11-4. It was pretty ridiculous. And I think at one point they actually had a tie, and they had a sprint off. One of the guys, I think, actually had pulled or torn both of his hamstrings, so I don't think he made it, but it was cool to see a little sprint off.
Oh.
What a pussy.
Yeah, really.
those things were wrapped up tight, man.
Yeah, they show a video of that dude. Or I'll post this video in the show notes. It's awesome. I during that event, now I remember I went to go. John wanted to go run a couple errands, so I got roped into that one and missed it. But how did the ladies do on that one? All this is shown as men's. Do you guys know, or do you recall?
Does
anybody watch the ladies?
No, I was going to say that, but then I was like, fuck.
I'm just teasing. I watch it, but not for that reason. I forget who won that event.
Dude,
I forget.
I'll tell you what, like, people knock women's sports, but women's CrossFit, I think they suffer more than the dudes. I'm telling you. I watch Cali on a daily basis suffer more than me and Ben and John combined.
I suffer because I have to work out with you guys.
Oh, should have seen that one coming.
That was so easy. I hate myself. I actually hate myself for saying it. It was so easy. Yeah, I mean, I think I saw some of the women's, but I want to say that at least one of the top finishers for the women, I think I was reading that maybe she was an ex-soccer player, which obviously would make sense in her ability to cut. So yeah, I didn't catch too much of it though, but yeah, I think my girl Christy Phillips from DC. I say it like, you know, like she's my friend, but representing DC, I think she did pretty well on it, like top 5 or something. So that's good.
Nice. Well, I mean, I think last year we had we as if I'm part of the CrossFit Games programming staff. The CrossFit Games had a field event with the sprint and the sled. I mean, I think one of the things that you'll see you're seeing evolve in the CrossFit Games is that they're drawing on all of these specialty seminars in addition to, I mean, this year was pretty outlandish with the marathon row and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I think this year, you can't argue with the fact that who got crowned was the fittest person out there for those particular tests. Even in the strength, the clean and jerk, I mean, there's only one strength event really. The poundages were only up 10 pound differences between athletes. And most of the athletes that missed the jerk. They could clean the weight, 345, 355. Just at that point, they had already rode a marathon, did that pig thing, just couldn't jerk it. So
yeah, this year it struck me as a very kind of grinding work, just a grinding amount of work capacity, just tons and tons of I was expecting to see more strength, at least one more ladder of some kind, but it was refreshing for me to hear Froning at the end, he's giving the speech and the guy's asking him, and he, what do you think of this year's games, or what are your thoughts and your reflections? And he's just he was just it was so hard, to hear him say, I mean, you would think it would be obvious because he's giving his maximal amount of effort, but maybe it's too obvious, but he's it just was a grinding, so difficult. The weekend was so difficult for him. So it's as hard as it looked, it was not easy for Rich Froning. It wasn't even, you know what I mean? Remotely, nothing about it was easy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, on the last day before that sprint chipper, the little interviewer on the field said to him, so, how you feel, you haven't won an event yet, you're coming into this day feeling fresh, and he was like, I feel like it's the furthest thing from what I feel is fresh. This has been the hardest CrossFit Games I've ever Yeah. So, I mean, that was pretty awesome to hear him say that.
Yeah, it's just an omission of kind of just being human. I think so many people think he's superhuman, but it was kind of interesting to hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah. The last day we had a buddy of ours come by who was competing, and he said back in the athlete village that, it's just kind of a grim environment because everyone's torched and, talking just kind of like team captain mentality. I guess someone asked Rich, hey, how you feeling, dude? And he's just like, I'm really, really fucking tired. I'm not maybe not verbatim. And our buddy said, you could hear the life just get sucked out of everybody because if Rich Froning is tired, they're like, we are as tired as we think, you know what I mean? But I commend those athletes, man, and people who say it's not a sport or it's, it's still hard work and they're competing and it's got a team vibe to it, the shared suffering. It's cool to watch and it's a cool environment. So I thought it was great.
Yeah.
Just in talking with the general clients at our gym who've watched that, some people who are coming in, they're kind of new to CrossFit and they see the games and they're just kind of in awe. They're quick to say performance enhancing. It seems like the ignorant, just the person who's uneducated in CrossFit, in that style of training. It's just easy to say, well, they're on something, rather than, understanding the amount of work and the years that it takes to get to that level, and I tell them that, I'm like, this is kind of like the society in general, when they see like these great performances, and I get it, you hear about these stories, I'm a Brewers fan. Ryan Braun, he just got popped, and you look at Ryan Braun, it's like, man, does he look like he's on something? But it's like, don't be so quick to judge. I mean, it takes a lot of hard work, a tremendous amount of volume. Go on YouTube and watch a day in the life of Rich Froning or whatever that thing is. It's like 50 minutes, and you can see he does like, 5 or 6 workouts a day, constantly eating. I mean, fueling the engine and stuff like that. And it's like, don't just say, oh yeah, well, it's because of the X factor or whatever that is why they're winning. I mean, give them some respect. All the competitors, all the top 20 people in each division who can make it to that level. I mean, that's a huge amount of work.
Yeah, Denny, I agree with you. I mean, natural ability takes you somewhere, but Rich works hard, right? I mean, I don't think anyone's going to argue with the fact that he works hard. So put those two things together, and it seems like he's superhuman. But I've had people here say, it's almost like they programmed to make Rich lose. But that's just not how Dave Castro works, right?
Who knows?
I don't know. We talked about it last. I wouldn't be surprised if there's how do we beat Rich Froning meetings. But I'm totally speculating off of, and I think I've said this before on the podcast. I grew up watching the X-Files. I'd rather believe in a conspiracy than not a conspiracy.
I mean, Luke holds meetings regularly called "How Do We Beat Rich Froning?"
I do.
with himself.
With himself. He's
Usually
the only person in attendance.
No, Cali attends. We have a big whiteboard, and on the whiteboard it says, "How do we beat Rich Froning?" And I have a caricature I've drawn of him on the left, and then he's happy, and then an arrow with a question mark, and then another arrow with a sad caricature, and we're just trying to figure out that question mark. And in one of these days, we will do it, Cali.
We're just missing that one piece, and I'm sure that it's going to have a diving finish, and it's probably going to give Luke goosebumps.
Yep. It's a requirement. That's also under the requirement section.
Yeah, honestly, who knows? I think a lot of people who are jumping to those conclusions are sort of ignorant, again, and most of them probably aren't familiar with CrossFit. So if you take your general person off the street and, people mistake Luke regularly for using performance-enhancing drugs and
Patrick
steroids.
Swayze and Mark Wahlberg. And
those people are, they don't understand the training. They don't understand that, form follows function, and that his body is, an example of all of his hard work. So it's very easy for people to judge, or even his performance is a result of all of his hard work. But, again, I'm not in the know. I don't know. I don't think anyone knows exactly what's going on with these athletes. Are they drug tested beforehand?
Yes.
They are.
They are. Okay.
Yeah, I think they started doing that a few years ago, even just to kind of stay ahead of all that.
Yeah.
I believe that they're tested at regionals and then before the games.
And it might be like what you think, like the top 10.
No, I mean there's only a handful of them, right? So I think you make it to the games. Was it 48 people? CrossFit's making millions, right? So I think they can afford it.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And it turns out that
if you listen to like them talk, Castro and Glassman and stuff like that, I mean, they're like in search of trying to find like not the perfect training style, but like the potential of a human being, drug free. What are the limits that a drug free human being can do? How can they perform? And that's just from what I've understood and from the videos that I've watched of them. When they talk about the games and the idea of it and testing, and you go to some of the seminars and they talk about how if you were to say that roller skating in the middle of the street will enhance your performance and you can prove it, then they'll put it in the programming. You would think like they would be quick to kind of, well, no, I don't really want to go that way. So
if roller skating shows up, then I'll make the games. I'm just gonna I'm gonna throw that out there.
And to go with Luke, I was at a couple years ago. I've said it before that me and Luke were at that one CrossFit football cert, and when I seen him again 2 years later, he is like 20 pounds heavier. Just freaking jacked.
That's right, Denny. Tell everybody.
I'm serious, dude. I mean, you see the pictures, after the seminars, and you stand next to the man. It's,
you listening, Cali? Cali, you listening to this?
Yeah, I'm listening.
Luke, what do you weigh?
223.
223.
I'm stand a stout 5'10.5".
His hair weighs 15 pounds.
All right. So I got to pack on some muscle.
Cali, what about you? Now, what kind of changes? You've been there, what, like a year now? You've been on the...
Almost. Yeah. Almost.
And how have you changed, as far as, aesthetics or...
Well, yeah. So when I showed up, I was probably like 145, I'd say, something like that. And then I went on that fucking Bulgarian thing, and I probably gained like 6 pounds on that. And now I'm more closer back where I started, but on that I gained, I would like to think it was all muscle. And then as we started to Metcon more, obviously I'm getting shredded. I'm getting shredded. I am not happy that I'm losing strength. I think Luke can attest to the same feeling where we're just like, we get under a bar and I'm just like, why does this feel so heavy? This is really heavy. And I've PR'd on complaining lately, which is great. But yeah, I think, it's all been kind of, a few ebbs and flows, some changes, and working with three guys or traveling on the road is a challenge for sure, because they want to go wherever they can consume the most amount of food. And so it's not always easy when you're a delicate lady like me and you're trying to maintain your prom dress figure. And so I always try to get them to eat some vegetables, and they're like, what's a fucking vegetable? And
why are you guys trying to lean out?
Well, honestly, Luke and I are trying to, well, I won't speak for you, Luke, but we were collectively trying to lose 20 pounds because it's going to help me get my muscle ups continuous. So like get more kind of continuous sequential muscle ups. I just feel like if I
why don't you just get stronger?
Yeah, I'm trying. It's hard when you've maxed out your strength. No one is as strong as me, so it's like almost impossible.
No one?
No, but it's a good question, and maybe it's time we start talking about valuable training information. That's what the podcast is supposed to be about. But like, so we have 4 weeks until this competition. And in terms of
you guys are doing a competition.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. So we signed up for a team series called the Summer Shakedown. Since we can't do our own competition, we decided to sign up for a local one here in Southern California. And it's CrossFit competition. And historically, they've programmed high rep pull-ups, high rep muscle-ups, high rep push-ups, and that body weight stuff. And really, there's like a body weight power ratio that's optimal. And I'm about 20 pounds overweight for that, given like for CrossFit. And I mean, I'd like to think I have decent body composition. It's not like I have a huge muffin top. My body says like, hey, I train, but I party, and
right. But
Callie's right. Like the difference between, let's say, stringing together 8 muscle ups versus 20 is, it's much easier to lose 10 pounds than it is to get that much more, or elicit that training effect to get that much more muscular endurance,
Yeah.
Definitely.
I mean, yeah, I agree. And so, with respect to something like the muscle up, right? You're absolutely right about the sort of body composition versus strength, because it's mostly technique.
Yeah.
So, but you have to get to the positions that allow you to exercise the technique. And if you can't get to the positions because you're less than a delicate young female, then that's going to be hard. So that makes sense. So you guys are going to rock a CrossFit competition. That's awesome.
Yeah. We're excited. I mean, honestly, like I think Luke can also agree, like if I hadn't been focusing on like getting a little leaner and, working on more of these body weight type movements, I hate saying that 'cause it's a dirty word, but if I hadn't noticed that it's getting easier, like I'd probably be like, fuck that, but it is getting easier. Like I just feel like I can, get over the rings faster and easier. And, my chest to bar is, easier. So I think it's definitely working for what I'm training for.
Yeah, but what's interesting is we say, and we preach this at the CERT in terms of programming, because we talk about strength and conditioning, and those coaches whose entryway into that world was CrossFit are totally geeked out on the conditioning portion. Right. And what's interesting is, after aligning your training goals, you really probably don't need that much conditioning if you're training an athlete, a field sport athlete, because they're going to get their conditioning in training camp. And if you do weigh in too heavily on the conditioning side of things, you are going to inhibit your strength gains. And this is just another real life application of how we can speak to. We tested the fact that, 8 weeks ago, before I started our quote unquote competition training, when a 3RM would come up, I could put 197 kilos on the bar and have a pretty easy day for 3RM. I just squatted doubles at 170 and thought my world was coming to an end.
Yeah.
But on the other end of it, my work capacity has probably tripled since we've started, and I've lost a little bit of strength. That's the trade-off you got to take. And going back to 20 minutes ago, when Cali was talking about the team series and an approach there, and seeing that stronger people just tend to be better at a lot of this stuff. So we got that strength foundation. Now we're going to add some work capacity. We'll see how we stack up against Southern California out here.
John's going to compete too.
John's transcended CrossFit competition.
I know. I mean, it probably wouldn't even be fair if he competed in something like that. I mean, it would just crush.
But I don't know. What else, Cali? What else do we have to talk about?
Well, I think we're good, aren't we? We've covered our little.
We're at coming up on 50 minutes.
Yeah, I wanted to give a shout out to any of the CFFB guys who are masters. The American Masters weightlifting thing is coming up in November. So 35 years and older, Denny, should come down to Savannah, Georgia, and lift with me.
I want to, and I remember aren't you going to train for? Is that the meet you're going to train for? I thought it was more of a powerlifting thing. I'll probably do them both.
Yeah,
do both, right? Why not? Whatever. So, you know what? In October, I'm going to do the Mid-American Weightlifting Championships in Schaumburg, which is a suburb of Chicago. And I'm going to kind of start changing my training more. But it's like I still want to sprint, And you're there hanging out with Caleb, who's going to the Worlds. I guess, how is that training going to change? Because he's not going to sprint, right? He's probably just going to go straight up, snatch, clean and jerk, back squat, front squat.
Yeah.
Well, why don't we see if we can get him on the show and maybe answer some of those questions?
We will. We're going to next time.
Oh, okay. Good.
Nice.
So, Steve, without, I guess, getting too much into, the next show, then if you're going to train for these competitions, are you going to still want to, maintain some kind of conditioning, sprinting, decent capacity?
Yeah.
Or you just
So generally speaking, when you couple my name with the term sprinting, it's used extremely loosely. And so, in fact, I have to go do some runs and clean and jerks now. So, I use runs again. It'll be like put the tennis balls on my walker type of thing.
Get your walker, yeah, but I don't know.
I'm slow. Running is bad, right? So if you're going to go in weightlifting competition, you don't want to go run, sprain an ankle, right? It's going to be hard to plant your foot if you've got a sprained ankle.
Good.
So, but you could condition otherwise, just buy an Airdyne. Like,
True.
go do Tabata Airdyne and tell me you don't throw up.
I mean, but how relevant is that? I mean, we all know that if you're going to train for a competition like that, sacrifice some of these other movements and just train for that competition. If it's 2 lifts, you better do those 2 lifts and do some front squatting and back squatting, stuff like that. I mean, how big of a role is conditioning other than recovering between your attempts, right?
Right.
It's so here I'll answer that, and you're gonna get all different types of schools of thought, but it goes back to exactly the discussion we were having in terms of, how much conditioning do you really need? You need enough to survive your training.
Yeah.
And the training needs to be enough to get you better for competition. So work it backwards. How much volume do you need in your training? And how, let's say, training volume. If you're doing 3 sessions a day, you're going to need a high level of GPP, and you probably already have it, Denny. I mean, if just based off of your years in CrossFit and training, and following CrossFit football, you're right, dude. You only have, how many lifts are you going to do on a competition day?
Right, 2.
6.
2, 3 attempts each, right?
Yeah.
That's how good a shape you need to be in.
Yeah,
But
honestly, to kind of nip it in the bud, very little to none. I mean, these guys are not doing a lot of extraneous anything, So, yeah.
Now the converse to that though is if you include it to elicit some sort of growth hormone response,
there you go,
to aid to recovery, that's a different school of thought. Okay, so you time your conditioning to help with strength gains, and we know the time domains that are relevant. Like if you're doing 30-minute metcons, you're obviously working against your goals. But like Steve said, you're doing 8 Tabata rounds of Airdynes, you may get a GH response from that, and it may help.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a double-edged sword too, right? Because you want that growth hormone response for strength, but you don't want to be bulky and swole necessarily if you need to be fast and limber to get under a snatch. So there's that, so you're right. You don't want to be out there doing the typical, 20-minute AMRAP type of thing, that sort of thing. But I think Airdynes here and there, some runs, some rows, even some just on the minute type of conditioning. So if you're doing clean and jerks, go back to 70%, 12 minutes on the minute, 2 cleans, 1 jerk, 1 clean, 2 jerks, whatever. Get the positioning right with light weights, work those motor patterns, and at the same time, amp up your GPP in an interval session. I think really that would be the way that I would tell someone to do it. And that seems to have worked well in this gym.
I like it. And you see a lot of on-the-minute kind of training in the CrossFit football programming.
Yeah.
Even going back, in history, you've seen that. You've heard John talk about it. One of his strength and conditioning coaches when he was in college or something like that, introduced him to that kind of on-the-minute stuff like that. And I think that's great. That's great advice. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, on-the-minute stuff teaches you a lot about your threshold for pain because you have to go hard every set. And usually you get, 30, 40 seconds rest, just enough to get back to 100%. That's been my experience anyway.
And what is that, Luke and Cali and Ben and Tex and John, they're all preaching, posture and position. I mean,
right.
That's a great way to get experience in that. So cool. Yeah, that's coming up in October, so I'm pretty stoked.
That's cool, man. Hey, listen, guys, speaking of posture and position, I got to go clean and jerk and run.
All right, guys.
Cool.
Good show. I forget who asked for hour-long show, but they got it. It was on the comments.
Somebody was like, I got to drive an hour to work, so talk for an hour.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably my mom. My mom was probably like...
It was your mom.
All right. Well, hey, it was a good one. And, we'll hook up next week. Kick some ass.
Nice, dude.
Peace out, Mrs. Hensman.
All right. Bye, guys.
Yeah, happy belated birthday, Denny.
Thank you.
Oh, happy.
Yeah. And, just for the CrossFit Football Nation out there, one more time. Here we go. Whatever.
That's awesome, Denny.
That is awesome. All right,
How great
guys.
is it that Denny just had that CD right next to his
I know.
desk?
I know. I really thought I was excited. I'm like, man, we're going to make it a good show, this one. So let's rock. I mean, they're all good, but
All right.
episode 20, I mean, like Steve said, we're out of the teens.
We're grown-ups. Let's
We're all
act like it.
Grown-ups.
All right, guys.
What's up?
Take
Bye,
care.
guys.
See
See you
ya.
guys.
Peace.
Later.